Hello, colleagues. It is 204th day of heroic Ukrainian struggle. Here is Natalia Staroprava, and we're about to continue the series of briefing in Mediacentru Ukraine. And immediately I want to invite forward Iryna Maruniak, Deputy Head of Lviv Mayor for Housing and Communal Utility Issues. Can you please tell us how does the city get ready to winter and heating season? Glory to Ukraine. Most likely that during the time of war, the heating season will not be easy. And as at right now, we're considering different aspects that can be there during the combat actions. We have a recent example during this weekend in Kharkiv, a rocket strike at hidden power station, and it was completely destroyed. That is why it is extremely important for us to get ready for winter very, very profoundly and to make sure that we will have gas and power stations in order to provide heat. And number three, and the worst case scenario when we will have no gas and no power stations. As it right now, the power station number one and heating power station and heating power station number two are ready for winter. All reparation works have been done. 98% of those heating establishments are ready for winter. One of them, and on Kirill and Mefodия Street, is under construction right now, and we're planning to finish the works up on the 9th of November. So we took a look at the functionality of our hidden power stations, and as of right now, we changed 4.5 kilometers of power lines to them and from them, and we are approximately hoping to exchange this amount of power lines for new ones. Also, in those hidden stations, we are installing pump stations that will allow us to economize on gas. And during the winter season, we are expecting to use 2 million square meters of gas. That is 14 million of hryvnias. And this is the work that we have launched and we will continue. Also, as it right now, the emergency services are working in Lviv. Our communal services are also working. We are purchasing the dry wood for the fires. As it right now, we have all the necessary oil and petrol bought for the winter season. And we also are buying reserve materials that will also help us to build or repair establishments in case of their damage. In case we will not have gas, it is very important for the inhabitants of counties and districts and the buildings that are self-sustained to take a look at them and to change the inside power net. It is extremely important because if there will be no gas, mostly people will use the electrical tools. Also, it is important to check on the conditions of the power counters inside every building for design for every flat. And the last thing we want is for them not to work in case lots of people will switch from gas heating resources to electrical heating resources. Also, not a single time. Also many times we conducted the meetings with self-sustaining organs of houses. Besides that, it is the third time I lead the HQ together with the communal services of Lviv for all of them to be on the same page and get ready for winter. The most important is that we do not have to be indifferent in those words and those actions that we do for them to meet each other and to taken into account and do all the necessary actions for that. Another thing I want to emphasize is that if there will be no gas and no power, then of course the situation will be extremely hard. That is why it is very important for dry wood heating devices to be bought of Alaska type, and a lot of them have already been bought by private companies and self-sustained houses, approximately 620 dry wood heaters of Alaska type. And also, besides that, the company leaders are working on preparation of dry wood for winter season. And almost every day we are monitoring this situation. When it comes to preparations for winter, it is important that the entrances to the houses to be equipped and to make it possible for them to keep the warmth inside. All these things we are checking periodically um, by different services of Lviv communal services. When we are in the field conditions there, we're checking whether this or that building is is equipped and ready for winter seasons. When it comes to inhabitants, we would also recommend for them to buy the necessary things. First of all, the heaters of small power, electric kettles, candles, matches. Besides that, one can buy additionally another things that will allow to go through this winter in case of critical situation. Also, one can buy dry alcohol tablets in order to be able to make tea or simply to cook some food. That is why, as at right now, we I consider that we are ready for winter. All the necessary meetings and guidelines have already been held and given, and right now we are concentrating on implementing them. Another important thing is dry wood hidden devices. It's not about just purchasing them and putting them in somewhere. It's important about purchasing and installing them in the shelters, because in case of when the situation gets to the worst case scenario and they will be shelling, the last thing we want is just to start installing them at that time. No, it should be done right now in accordance with the safety rules, in the accordance with fire safety rules, and to have extra amount of them in case when the situation comes to the worst case scenario, for people to have a source of warmth, additional source. That is why it is extremely important to install them in a correct way. Also, there should be the indicator of gas, of exhausting gas in the buildings. Also, these rules should be held as, for example, the tube itself from Alaska dry wood heating device coming through the pipe into the window and doing and making the exhaustion gas to go out. And also, the fire extinguisher is a must in any shelter. Another important thing is that this heating device Alaska type should be installed in a place where there is a possibility for warming. That's first, and second, for it not to block the exit of inhabitants in case of the worst case scenario. These are the rules that should be kept for people in case of when it comes to the wars, be able to get outside and save their lives. Another thing I want to say, we have the special warming places equipped. Mostly these are the schools, and we have 14 of them. Were designed and equipped specially to be able to provide the warmth to people. In these installations, we have them as a reserve option. We have the warmth um, places where people can warm themselves in case there is a need to. Thank you. I would like to invite Lyubomyr Zubach, Deputy Head of Lviv Mayor for City Development. Since we have IDPs in Lviv and module towns are not completely equipped for living under winter conditions, how do you solve this question today? Hello, everyone. Yes, you all know that Lviv city organized in our city together with the necessary ministry three module towns. They are on Polya Street, Kyiv district, and the nearest Risky Park. And as that right now, during this time, we have approximately 1,000 people living in there. And from the point of view of their functioning during summertime, all the people were satisfied. But yes, you are correct. From the point of view of us coming closer to winter season and heating season comes, it will not be quite comfortable there because toilets and kitchen defects are situated separately. That is why we decided to do a transformation of these module towns and to re-equip them in such a way that in one place there could be possible to have a defect, bathrooms, and living rooms for people not to go outside in case they need to go to defect or bathroom. Also, we have the previous agreement from the Ministry of Counties Development and together with the Polish government organizations. For that, we need to receive some number of these module containers. And the plan is the following. This container town, model town, will be placed, will be located in Kyiv district, where we have Mariupolis right now. Close to this, there is a land portion there where we plan to install 8 of these module 2 floors buildings. Their total capacity and numbers they can take, number of people they can take in each of them will have 40 buildings, all in all 160 in each, and the total amount of people living there can be 1,300 people. All in all, this is more than what we have now. When it comes to those already existing module towns in Strisky Park, we will completely relocate these building, and we will not demolish, but get rid of it. After we do this, the sport grounds will be done there. Instead of this, those model towns on Polu Street and near in Kyiv, they will be preserved. They will not be used during winter time. They will be kept for the warm times, for the summer time. That is why right now we are waiting for the shipment of Polish containers. As soon as we receive them, we will do all the necessary work. I hope it will be there on next week. Thank you, dear colleagues. If you happen to have any questions, please raise your hand. Galina Ostrovska, Espresso channel. Can you please clarify, dear Ludmila, this new model town will be used by those people in living in Strisky Park model town, or this will be a completely new town for another people? Yes, correct. Those people who live in those model towns, they will be relocated to that new module town in Kyiv region. Plus, there will be extra places. If let's put it this way, right now we have approximately 1,000 people. In the future, we will have the capacity of having 1,300 people. As I have already said, those containers in Trisky Park, they will be taken down and used for equipment of new model towns. Those model towns on Polu Street and Kyiv, they will be preserved and kept for the summer times. So in the future, how many module winter types module towns do you plan to install? Well, those module towns that we have, they have heating device in there, and people living there, they have all the capacities to switch on the heaters, and that's it. But the reason why we do this, there are separate blocks where we have living rooms, separate blocks where we have toilets, and separate blocks where we have the dining facility. And obviously during the winter time, it's not comfortable to go from a living room, go outside, to go to the toilet, or to go to the defect. That is why we are concentrating on people receiving these services as defect and bathrooms, for them to be able to do this all in one room. So what we are planning to do is the 2 stores model houses. There will be one big corridor where all people will live together and no need to go outside for bathroom. Dear, dear Iryna, Can you please tell us, you announced that the city has bought enough petrol and oil for winter season. Can you tell us about the numbers more in depth? Well, the city bought the oil and petrol enough, and we have the diesel petrol, and we have regular petrol, and we have it enough to go through the winter. Do you plan on doing another purchase? Because you mentioned something that we're planning on buying extra amount of petrol. Yes, yes, correct. It's mostly for our Lviv communal water facilities and also for Lviv transportation facilities, as well as Lviv power station facilities. Yes, these are the facilities who still plan to buy extra petrol for winter time. So the enemy is not sleeping, it is acting, and the enemy is attacking critical infrastructure. How good is Lviv prepared for that? Well, we do what we can when it comes to preparation for winter for us to be able to different scenarios. And in case, for God's sake, these strikes occur and gas pipelines, gas centers will be damaged. And we had this kind of happenstances when the rockets installed the power stations and then the reserve lines of water supply and the power stations came in force. So we managed to sustain the providing of water, but by means of emergency ways. When it comes to us right now, we have to to have a narrative that people have to get ready for winter, to listen to us, and to have dry wood heating devices of Alaska type. Dry wood itself will reinforce the windows and the entrances to the buildings when they buy and purchase another warm clothes for them. Under these conditions, this will allow us to go through this hard winter that we are facing because we have never had this type of winter before, especially the winter under the martial conditions. When it comes to city itself, city Lviv is ready for winter season. We have the necessary amount of dry wood. Besides that, we have petrol and oil. When it comes to dry wood heating devices, Alaska type, every self-sustained buildings is supposed to purchase these kind of heating devices, dry wood heating devices, by themselves for people to be able to make themselves warm in case they need to. It's not a question of whether we will need these dry wood heating device or not. Obviously that you do, because by doing this you basically anticipate the worst case scenario. And not only it's about purchasing it, it's about doing it timely and installing it timely. Because because later on these will be the devices that will give heat to all people around and and even provide the capabilities to cooking of food during the winter time. And also take into account that if, for God's sake, there will be shelling and air raids, and all the people will go into the basement for a long time, it is important for them to be able to sustain themselves there and to be able to warm themselves there in the basements during the air raids time. That is why I'm addressing to self-sustained buildings organizations, to self-sustained buildings heads, for them to implement these measures right now. As at right now, 59 dry wood heating devices are installed in the basements of Lviv buildings. It is extremely low number. That is why we are urging people to take efforts and to do it faster. So Lviv Mayor Andriy Sadovy announced a program of check-in of rooms, and also he does it by himself together with you. How do you estimate the state of warming of house entrances and buildings themselves? We check their state, the state of these buildings. Usually we do it every 2 weeks. We do not warn before that in which buildings we will go, and we do not warn any buildings and any building heads at all. Yes, we had some remarks when we had to walk through some buildings, and we had the remarks, and we are doing the photo fixation, and we conduct special meetings, and also we take these drawbacks under advisement, and we give 1 week time in order to get rid of them. And again, in 2 weeks we will have another field trip, another round around the town buildings to check how they are getting ready for winter. The last field trip we had, we did not have major drawbacks seen. The only drawback that we found is the condition of glasses in the windows that will sustain the heat inside. So it's not only creating heat inside the building, it's also about keeping it inside, because no point of keeping the streets warm. Thank you. Colleagues, please, if you have any questions, please take a microphone, introduce yourself. Hello, Kristina Ashenko and Interchannel. I have a question to Lyubomyr. When it comes to module towns, you said and you mentioned that the Polish side will help you. Do you have any amount of money, how much it might cost of re-equipment of this town, and whether city is involved into this financially? And also, do you have any schedules exactly when people be able to move to that warm houses? Thank you. Thank you for the question. When we're talking about this new module town itself, then really for it to start its functioning, we need additional containers. We have all the necessary estimations by our architectural department given to our Polish counterparts. We need approximately 500 new containers. Some of them are living rooms, some of them are bathrooms and defects. And also they will have some separate stairway modules. And this information is given already to our government and to our city administration and Polish side. What we are tracking is that these containers are already produced. As it right now, there are some kind of procedural things to be done, basically with papers. I have great hopes that by the beginning of the next week, the shipment of these containers will start. And we're talking about the containers themselves and the minimum furniture for these containers. Basically, all we need for the comfortable life. When it comes to city administration, our input will be as following. We will organize the preparation of land for this container town. We will organize the qualified equipment of this terrain for it to be a good and comfortable space for people to be able to live through the winter. When it comes to numbers, I will not tell you exactly because these are the estimations that are continuing. But again, this process should be done by us, and we hope to finish it by the beginning of the heating season. But it all is connected with the shipment of those containers from Polish side. Colleagues, do you have any more questions? Yes, please. Also, we have these leaflets, how to get rid for hard winter. And also we have good and qualified recommendations to our inhabitants. These leaflets will be in service providing administration buildings. And I have a request for people for you to take these leaflets in your armory, and because it contains good and qualified advices. So these big ones will be there on buildings, and these small ones people can take with themselves. And believe me, there is many interesting and valuable information for you. So if you have a chance to grab one, please take one. Thank you. This was Iryna Maruniak, Deputy Head of Lviv Mayor for Housing and Communal Utilities Issues, and Lyubomyr Zubach, Deputy Head of Lviv Mayor for City Development. Thank you for this meeting. as it right now, that's it. Please continue following Mediacenter Ukraine Lviv activity. And how